Welcome back to Redacted Media, where we bring you the content as long as you mind your business. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you to go ahead and like, subscribe, turn on notifications, help the channel out a little bit. Try to get past this 238 subscribers I've been stuck on for like a year. But anyways, I'm your host, Redacted, or Alarmer. I'm joined by my co-host, Jake.
I'm Jake.
All right, that is Jake. And just a little background, I'm a King mega fan, as they call it, or a constant reader. And Jake, I believe, has read some King, but this is his first time through the Tower.
Correct.
And today we're going to continue our journey through the Dark Tower series, Book 1, The Gunslinger. We last left off with Roland the Gunslinger just destroying a town.
Absolutely wiping them out.
Women, children, dogs probably. Nobody was safe.
It didn't mention a dog, and I'm glad because I didn't want to read that.
We don't need, like, what if, who's winning, John Wick or the Gunslinger?
Oh. Okay. Well, it's a good question. I haven't seen enough of the Gunslinger, I think, to definitively call it.
I agree to that. John Wick, he might be able to. I don't know. Okay. So,
Fun, though.
Roland is walking, chasing the Man in Black, and he starts to remember a childhood poem, a nursery rhyme that his mom used to sing him. And I thought it was interesting that they bring up his childhood, because we had talked about Roland's past before in the book, but nothing about like so sweet and tender as a child, or like nursery rhymes. It's usually like pain or a lover with Susan.
Yeah, and this it's talked about his friends, but never his parents, and it's only really kind of alluded to a past. We haven't really seen anything, and so I expected to probably not get anything deep about his past until like maybe book 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But right away we're getting into mommy stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Mommy issues off the bat, and then we're actually going to go back in time with the flashback later on in the chapter. But I always found it, or not always, but I found it interesting this time, the all boys born to the high speech must face the dark alone. And we had talked earlier about that maybe being figurative or literal, but it was interesting to me that's just like engraved into their society of that you're born into, like, I don't know, is high speech royalty, or is that like...
See, I at first thought it was kind of just how, like, I just thought it was a language, but this and some stuff we read later made me think that it is a language, but it's the language that the nobles speak. It's the upper class that speaks it.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like something that has some dignity just knowing it.
Right, yeah.
So that's a Nort. Yeah, he's also... Yeah, how far has he fallen? If he born to the high speech, now being a weed eater.
I didn't think about that, yeah.
I didn't either until just right now. So he's walking through the desert trying to die, basically, right?
He's run out of water. He's been gone from Browns for that long.
Yeah.
And he is on the verge of heat stroke, and eventually he sees 2 buildings out in the distance, and in the shadows of one he sees a figure, and he's like, oh, finally it's him. And so he pulls out his guns and just starts running and screaming and cussing him out, and then as he gets closer he's like, oh, that is a child. And decides to just walk over to the little barn that is there and passes out right on his face.
Yeah, it's wild they can go from like that just switch of like it's time to kill to, oh, the switch didn't need to be activated, so I might as well die. Pushing the limits of human capabilities, I believe.
Right, which he doesn't know how long it's been since he's been at Brown's, and he's run out of all the water that he had. And last time it made sure to like kind of point out that he's trained his body so he only drinks water when he absolutely needs it, and he's proud of it. So I think we can safely assume it's been longer than he thinks it's been.
Remind me, do you think that at Brown's did he fill up with water?
I think he did.
Because Brown asked him to pee on his corn.
That's true.
So I'm wondering if Brown had a supply of water.
Yeah.
So maybe he did like run out of water because of Toll was his last real refill station.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know though. It could just be us looking way too much into a book. I like to read this little paragraph right before he passes out because I found it fun when I was reading it, where it said, "A blade of pain slipped smoothly into his head, cutting from temple to temple, dividing his brain like an orange. He reholstered his gun, swayed, put out his hands as if to ward off phantoms, and fell over on his face." I love the imagery of your brain being split over like an orange. I thought that was really cool because they're already, cut,
Yeah.
I guess, sectioned off. How are you going to say an orange?
It kind of made me think of like those chocolate oranges that you like smack and then they like spread out and fall apart.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I don't want that in my brain.
No, absolutely not. When Roland wakes up, he sees that the boy has like put some hay under his head to try and make him a little bit more comfortable. He's like, I couldn't lift you, but I thought I could help. He brings him some water, and Roland like points out that he hears this weird like humming noise in the background when the boy's getting him water, and we'll save that for later.
Yeah, that that comes back. That's a little unfortunate.
And then the boy introduces himself. He's like, my name's John Chambers, but you can call me Jake. I had a friend who called me Bama, but you can call me Jake.
That's good kid dialogue to me. That is just so much information that's like, you could have said you were Jake. That's all I needed to know is that your name was Jake. As bad as King has a history of writing bad child scenes, he writes great children. Like, you think, I don't know if you've read like It.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or, I mean, great cast of kids, then The Body or Stand By Me as it's called. Really good kids. He seems to have a good way of being able to put their personalities and all that into just text through dialogue, through their thoughts and how they act. So Roland gets, or I'm gonna call him Roland. That's his name. It is the Gunslinger. I don't think he's named too often, but he is Roland.
I was actually gonna bring up a point about that later.
Okay.
I noticed that King never calls him Roland. In the narration, he does not call him Roland. He says other people do, or Roland will refer to himself as his name, but King only ever refers to him as the Gunslinger.
That's interesting. I've never thought about it like that. That in the narration, he's always the Gunslinger.
Which, like, when I was taking notes, it felt weird to me at times to write Roland, because I was like, the Gunslinger, but I was like, no, Roland's shorter, so I'm going to write Roland.
Yeah, it's way easier to say, too.
But it kind of made me think of Jake not as Jake, but as the boy, just because, we're using titles. The Gunslinger, the Man in Black, the boy.
Huh.
I always wrote Jake because Jake is shorter, but
yeah, the boy is I've never really linked that it's these three titles start with the and that are very vague, and that's. I wish we were done with book 7, so I could tell you everything I'm thinking right now. But
all in due time.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'll shut up because if you've read this, like I got you. Jake says that he might have seen the Man in Black, which sparks Roland's interest.
Yeah, he describes him as this priest who was out in the desert, and he said that he didn't sleep, he didn't stop to get water, he just rested out there for a little bit and then kept going on, and he didn't like him. He freaked him out.
What did he say? People fuck me up?
Yeah, he said, I don't like people, they fuck me up.
That's a tattoo I'd get.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't like people, they fuck me up.
And he kind of wonders if he was a ghost, like a movie he'd seen in Times Square. Whoa.
Yeah, Times Square. Wait, what? We really didn't know that Jake wasn't from this world yet, right?
Yeah.
He just doesn't know how he got here.
Yeah, he woke up at the way station, but he doesn't know how he got there. Never.
Maybe the first time I read it, but as the reread, it's just so hard to separate what I know from what I don't know. I didn't think about the fact that Jake, in our reality, up to this point, could have been from Inworld. You know, there's nothing telling us he wasn't.
Yeah, and he says he hasn't been there very long. So when Roland asks, how long has it been since the Man in Black was here? He said, well, not long, because I haven't been here long.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got here, but I know I haven't been here long.
So what, like 2 poops?
2 or 3 poops.
See, like some days that's like 4 hours, you know?
Right? Like, that's a day, my dude. Like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
what do I eat? You know? Oh my goodness. All right, moving on. I had a beef with this dialogue earlier, but I'm not even gonna go over that. I like that he puts him together with what. How'd you imagine his bullet trick?
Kind of like how someone will take a coin and like flip it between their fingers and kind of roll it back and forth.
The simple like right over the knuckles one, right?
Yeah.
How the fuck does that put someone to sleep?
Right? Like, I was like, is this a secret gunslinger magic technique that
like, there's obvious pauses, and I don't know. It's hard to. If somebody did a movie like this and made it look awesome, I'd be so hyped.
Right.
But if it looked bad, like this is when you could really fuck up. Be like, oh, you know, it's a bullet. Oh.
That's why I was like, this is a magic power that Roland has.
Yeah. Or King does try to like make him seem kind of magical.
A little bit, yeah.
There's ways that I don't know if it's like him being this well trained of a soldier of a killer that he's that dexterous, or that dexterous is the word, right?
Yeah, I think so. I knew exactly what you meant.
Yeah, not dexterous.
I think it's dexterous.
Okay. He rolled a nat 20 on his dexterity. All right.
Sleight of hand.
Yeah, and we were discussing earlier before this about something about the bullet. Like, if it blew up, he'd actually be like, all right.
Oh yeah, so he as he's hypnotizing Jake and putting him to sleep, he thinks about how if the bullet blew up in his hand, he'd be okay with it. He's like, my hands don't do anything good. All they do is kill. So if I lost one, and you know, who cares? I'd be happy about it.
That. Yeah, like it's not good to hear that from the quote unquote hero of your story, that they don't want to have what makes them useful in this world.
Right.
Because by no means do I think that a town full of religious mania is going to be like the worst thing the Gunslinger faces. You know?
Oh yeah.
Like there's this world, and if you know King, if you read anything from King, he's going to fight something fucked up, like sooner or later.
Isn't the next chapter called like the Mutants or something?
We have the Speaking Demon, I think, and then the Slow Mutants.
Yeah.
So, the Oracle in the Mountains. There's nothing about Speaking Demon. Sorry. But yeah, he's got me an Oracle, and then some mutants, which mutants are always great.
Yeah.
Charles Xavier, but
see, I was thinking more like Fallout, like the big green guys.
If they're not glowing green, we riot. You know?
Right.
That's exactly what I think when I think of mutant. You remember? Oh my god. Oh, what, like Salad Hands?
Oh, Salad Fingers.
Yes,
like
that's
the
who
Flash
I picked.
cartoon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that kind of like weird green looking dude.
I like to touch rusty spoons.
Yo, we grew up in a weird time.
Absolutely.
So he puts Jake to sleep, and my book goes into all italics, and you don't, right?
No, my ebook did not have that.
It's interesting to see that the choices that maybe made in editing, maybe made by King, I don't know, but it was a pain in the ass to read. I don't like reading italics for 4 pages straight. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get some of Jake's backstory. Mm-hmm. He is this kid of 2 very wealthy parents. He's very, in a sense, well taken care of, and in another sense, not taken care of at all, because they kind of neglect him and forget about him. He's the only real adult presence in his life is hired help that, is an employee of his parents.
Yeah. It seems like even in this first, like, paragraph or so, there's his mother's obsession with romance novels and how his father, like, disapproves of that, and then his mother disapproves of, like, it seems like his father in general. Like, yeah. It's like, oh, you should talk. It's like, oh, my jeez.
Yeah, they don't like each other either.
Yeah, as a child of divorce, I get it. That is a tension you can cut with a knife, as they say. I like how they say that Jake's dad, his father works for the network and is capitalized. I've always found that interesting that they choose to capitalize things that are...
I didn't think about that, but like I can kind of see that as like from a kid's perspective, you don't know what it is. You just know it's the thing.
Yeah. You seen The Shining or read The Shining?
I have watched the movie a long time ago.
Okay, the little kid has The Shining,
Yeah.
which is basically telepathy and telepathy. Jesus, I cannot talk today. And he read the word divorce in his father's mind at one time. It was a different font, a different size, and all caps everywhere in the book whenever he thought of the word divorce. So you know what it meant.
Huh.
It was just like him reflecting on him reading this in his dad's mind.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, just little things like that I've always found interesting in how you can write stuff like that. You know, the art, I guess. I don't know. What would you call it? The style?
Oh, yeah.
Stylistic.
The art of layout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like the network, right? And Jake could pick him out of a lineup of skinny men with crew cuts.
Probably. Not for sure, but like, he knows his dad enough to maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if you're all skinny and have crew cuts, maybe.
We were talking earlier about how he smokes 4 packs a day.
Wild.
Yeah, that's you see like those memes of the guys who have like the big circle thing and there's just like 20 cigarettes in there at a time.
Yeah.
That's that guy just all day long.
You'd have to. I mean, just your tongue has to taste terrible. There's so much on there. Yeah, he's his father smokes 4 packs of cigarettes a day. He's a master of the kill. I found it interesting that not that Roland is like necessarily a father figure to Jake already, but if he is abandoned, orphaned in this world, then Roland's kind of his dad.
Yeah, I can definitely see like that sort of relationship growing.
Yeah, and if Roland or Jake's already used to having pretty shitty parents with a father figure that's good at killing, right at home with Roland.
Yeah.
You were talking about how he hates professionalism.
Yeah, so the book kind of describes Jake's inner thoughts in a really interesting way. He says that he knows that his dad's company or his dad has stocks in a company that lowers the pins at a bowling alley, and he goes bowling all the time, and he's like, it says he doesn't think that he's noticed that they don't use that same technology there, but he's realized it. And then later it's like he doesn't realize that he hates professionals and professionalism.
Yeah,
but he does.
Yeah, and at the same point that he would learn to like, I believe that's in here. He says he learned he'd grow to hate himself too, right?
Yeah, eventually he'd learn to grow to hate himself.
Yeah,
which makes sense because they are, the stereotypical rich kid who is just being what's the word, like, he's just like the stereotypical rich kid who's being trained to become his dad.
Yeah, he's being groomed.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, for sure. And then Jake gets hit by a car, right?
Yeah. In a really detailed and kind of gruesome way.
I'm gonna go ahead and take the liberty to read some of that gross and gruesome nastiness, because I love it.
Oh, absolutely.
The car is almost exactly the same color as the businessman's hat. It breaks Jake's back, mashes his guts to gravy, and sends blood from his mouth in a high-pressure jet. Wow. You ever had, like, not to be even more gross, but, like, explosive throwing up where it's like a jet, like, oh, my God, I really have to get this out of me?
Absolutely.
Like, hits the back of your teeth as it's coming out? That's what I imagine. It's like a water hose with so much pressure you can feel it on the back of your teeth.
Oh, yeah.
And if I ever write a book where somebody gets run over by a car, that's what's happening.
Absolutely, you gotta.
And at the last paragraph was, he sees the black robe and knows sudden horror. It is him, the man in black. Jake turns his face away with the last of his strength. Somewhere a radio is playing a song by the rock group Kiss. He sees his own hand trailing in the pavement, small, white, shapely. He has never bitten his nails. Looking at his hand, Jake dies. So Jake's dead in our world, a world that contains New York. How about that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
The fictional version of our world, maybe.
And before he dies, he sees a priest, the man in black. They call him out as the man in black.
Yeah, which
not Johnny Cash.
You know, I just now kind of wondered this, but him being there, do you think that he caused the car wreck? Maybe, like, do you think he's
Did he push
responsible for
Jake? Because Jake just falls into the street.
That's possible too.
I didn't know if he pushed or if he was just like the Grim Reaper. You see him like in media that he'll just watch, and then this is what's happening, and then act of contrition. Maybe I don't know. You know, it's probably a bunch of bullshit, but the Man in Black goes up to him, and now Jake wakes up in the Gunslinger's world, not hurt either.
Yeah, no, he's totally fine.
So this is
he like Nort, maybe? Like the same kind of brought back to life?
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
Probably not, because Roland could tell Nort was dead right away.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't have that same sense about Jake. So that was a thought that just occurred to me for a second, but then I talked myself out of it, so never mind.
I could see there being a little bit harder to put together a kid that's had his, quote, guts turned to gravy.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did have like rotting teeth, so
yeah. And you know, Brown did say something about like maybe this is the afterlife.
And I think that's honestly what hooked me with this book, was that thinking about, is this purgatory, is this the afterlife, is this hell, whatever you may be. And it's always, I love stories that are ambiguous, that just like, what is going on,
right?
You know, I think that even up, I think into the last page of this book, you'll be at, what is going on? What is this? What? You know?
Yeah, I love a story that doesn't give all completely solid answers. Like, two people can read it and come away with completely different plot points.
For sure. Or
or interpretations of what
happened or where this may be. Yeah, for sure. So, Jake, does he even wake up after that?
No, so Jake is still asleep.
Yeah.
And Roland's like exploring the barn, and he's thinking about how like he knows that this boy is a trap set by the Man in Black, but he's going to take care of him anyway.
Before we jump ahead, before that, I have to say that Jake says that Gunslinger asks, "Do you want to remember this when you wake up, or forget it?" Jake says, "Forget it. When the blood came out of my mouth, I could taste my own shit."
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh.
That's so bad.
Yeah.
But he also has a cool way of making him forget shit. That's a useful trick, Roland. Makes someone forget stuff.
Yeah.
So where are we? That's for brief time. Yep.
We're at the start of section 4.
Yeah. I just wondering, like, where are we in the book? Like, what's happening?
So Jake's still asleep. Roland is kind of exploring the barn and the way station, just kind of checking everything out. And he finds this electric stainless steel water pump.
Electric.
And
electric.
Like
that. Did I not have that on the right? I really thought I did.
And even more interesting than that, he thinks about how it could be powered, and he's like, "There's probably a nuclear slug in there."
That he knows of nuclear power.
Yeah, but he knows of nuclear power, but he doesn't know what a movie is.
Yeah. Buildings can't be that tall, but we got nuclear power, all right.
And or an atomic slug, not a nuclear slug. My bad.
Okay.
And he's like, "Well, why wasn't this taken when this place was abandoned?" Probably demons. Just casually, probably demons.
Demons. That is another thing that also exists in this world, is that.
And they had talked about demons being out in the desert before. Yeah. But it was kind of presented as like,
it feels like
is it, or is it just these crazy villagers?
Yeah. We've learned of a guy with a bird head. If you told me that was a demon, I'd believe you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but if like, then just how dry. Demons, perhaps.
Yeah, just so
okay.
So casual. So like, oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I like that they mention another company. This is our second company named.
Yeah, this is North Central Positronics.
Along with Lamerck Industries. And the inner communist in me, is this already like just a metaphor for capitalism? I don't feel like you mentioned company names unless you're trying to talk some shit. So.
Right? Like, anytime I read a book that has like big company names like that,
yeah,
it immediately makes me think of like cyberpunk books where like the world is run by megacorps.
For sure. Oh God, what was that, like Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where like Taco Bell owns everything?
Oh.
That's not Fifth Element, because that's Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Oh, no. They have, like, sex with their minds. What movie is that? It's not important.
Yeah. I'm blanking,
You know,
too.
you know what movie I'm talking about, though?
I do, but I cannot think of the name to save my life.
All right, put it in the comments, y'all.
Yeah.
Help us to drive our interactions up. So he goes back after getting the water, and I guess we forgot to mention that he like couldn't hold down his water. I always find that interesting whenever there's something that somebody like really needs, like water, but they can't hold it down. It's like their body fighting against them. I think it's a good way to like write interesting shit, you know.
Yeah.
So we're here. I need you to pronounce that name for me.
So the way I was pronouncing it when I was reading it was Cuthbert.
Okay.
And I was wondering if this was the name you were talking about.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, maybe there's Cuthbert or Cuthbert.
Yeah.
Like kind of like Colbert before.
Yeah.
But no, the way that I stuck with was Cuthbert, which I'm guessing is probably wrong, but it's kind of the simplest.
I've told you there's two people that read the books.
Yeah.
And they both pronounce it differently.
Yeah.
One is you, and one is the one that I prefer, which is Cuthbert.
Cuthbert?
Yes.
I like that.
That's just the way that I say it whenever I listened to this for the first time. And that's the reader that I enjoyed more. So now whenever I'm reading it, it's Cuthbert, Elaine, and Court.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I kind of just started thinking about how the book starts to call him just Bert.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I kind of forgot about the Cuth part.
Yeah, for sure. So then we go into flashback mode.
Yeah.
Right.
So, wait, not
Nope,
quite
not
yet.
Yeah, nope, not yet.
So he's thinking about his friends and kind of reflecting on his past, and he stops to think like, well, I'm not the kind of guy to reflect on my past. I'm not the kind of guy to get nostalgic, which I find funny because he spends a lot of these 2 chapters reflecting on his past and being nostalgic.
That's all he does.
Yeah.
Just think about his first trials of being a man, and the guy that was training to be a gunslinger. He
had a really cool quote here. He says, "I'm the last of that green and warm-hued world, and for all his nostalgia, he felt no self-pity. The world had moved on mercilessly."
For sure. I want to go back just a little bit, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So he's talking to Jake before we even start the flashback, right?
Yeah.
And he says, "So I'm going on tomorrow," the gunslinger said. "You'll have to come with me. How much of that meat is left?" It felt interesting the way that was structured. It was like fact, being open with his feelings. Like, you need to come with me. I'm going to take care of you. Followed by question. Just like, you mean nothing to me, but I'm going to be nice here. I don't know. It felt like it was intentional the way it was written to have 3 statements like that right in a row.
Yeah.
And that the one that could make the gunslinger seem not impenetrable is the one just thrown in the middle and kind of it's
Kind of like he armored it with harder sentences.
And it seems like something bigger to be asking, because anytime that you see a killer and then they have something that is weak and not them, it's just a kid. A kid can be killed by Jake wouldn't have survived Toll.
No, absolutely.
He couldn't have saved him. He would have. I mean, even if the whole thing, he was at his side through the whole thing, he'd have got killed in the mob. Because Roland got stabbed, he got scratched, whatever. But now he's taking on that extra responsibility. Found it interesting to show us who the gunslinger. He might have some humanity to him, or maybe this is just his divine purpose, that he's born in the way of the gun, the high speech, all that.
And one thing that I found interesting is after he tells Jake, you're coming with me. Jake asks, "Well, are you going to kill that man in black?" And he's like, "I don't know. Maybe. I have to have him tell me something first.
Yeah.
Or bring me somewhere.
Yeah,
to the tower.
I need to use him first." But I also like that Jake asks, "Is he a bad man?" And Roland says, "I guess that depends on where you're standing."
I was like, "Ooh, we love a morally ambiguous villain."
Oh yeah, and is it possible that the man in black is the good guy, and Roland killed a town?
Well, I mean, he says that he doesn't lie.
Yep.
And the man in black told Sylvia
He's a priest. As much as we want to say like our own experiences with religion, traditionally in a story, that should be a decent guy.
Right.
The
yeah,
priest.
absolutely. It's like that's the ideal for sure.
Yeah.
And he Roland says he doesn't lie, and then we see that he told Sylvia that Roland is evil.
Mm-hmm.
He told Sylvia that he was, or I don't know if he told Sylvia that he was, like truly a man of God or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But Sylvia definitely believed that.
Yeah, and maybe it is just because multiple people have called him a priest.
Yeah.
By the way he dresses, and that might just be mistakes because of his clothes, and that if our only true information about who the Man in Black is from Sylvia Pittston, we don't have a reliable narrator.
Absolutely
you
not.
can't trust anything she says.
Yeah.
Oh yeah! Wow, I tried to skip past a lot of shit, didn't I? I said, "Oh yeah," then they start walking. No, we got to go down to the cellar.
Oh yeah, yep. We gotta go. But then as they go to sleep again, Roland starts to again think about Cuthbert and Jamie.
Yep.
We don't know who Jamie is yet, but it's a friend from his past. We assume.
Yeah, there's 3 boys I believe that are mentioned so far. It's Cuthbert, Jamie, and Elaine.
And so the next morning, Roland goes down to the cellar that Jake was telling him about, and Jake's like, "Oh, I was scared to go down there because I thought the ladder might break."
Smart.
Yeah.
Being stuck at just a cellar with no way out if you're a kid. There's no way to like stack boxes or something. Yeah. Smart.
Absolutely. But then Roland's like, "Oh, I'll go down there. Whatever." And the first thing we get is that like it smells horrible, like rotted vegetables, and there's mutant spiders with eye stalks.
Eye stalks. Wild.
Yeah.
That's such a gross thing. That's the thing that had to mutate was your eyes on a spider. Yeah, that's gross.
And like, spiders don't just have 2 eyes. They have like, they're going to have all sorts of eyes sticking up off their head.
Like a dandelion or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to see these mutant spiders.
Absolutely not.
I think one like flops down on him too, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm not like, somebody who has arachnophobia, but I don't want to mess with these guys. Nope.
Don't have more than 8 legs.
Yeah.
Don't have more than 2 legs in the first. 4 is maybe.
Yeah.
But after that, you're starting to get weird, and we're gonna start saying you're a mutant on top of the 8 legs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what the fuck?
Roland starts. He finds like a bunch of canned food, and so he like starts bringing it up, and like handing it out of the door to Jake, and Jake's stacking it, and then eventually Roland hears this like groaning sound, and he sees like a crack in the foundation where sand is pouring out.
Yeah, said a foundation was composed of a huge sandstone blocks covered. A thin spill of sand was running as if something on the other side was digging itself through with slobbing, agonized intensity. It's another just an amazing run of words that's like, oh yeah, there's something down there.
Oh yeah.
I like how Jake calls him Mister too. He says, "Come up," Jake screamed. "Oh Jesus, Mister, come up." That feels like Andy Griffith's show to me.
Come on, Mister.
Oh boy.
Oh gee, Williker, it's real scary down there.
And I like the instruction that Roland gives them is like, if you count to 200, no 300, and I'm not up here, leave. Like, I'm done for.
Take off.
We don't know what this is, and then he just goes right back down.
Yep.
He pulled leather with his right hand. That's a solid way of pulling leather. You guys got out. But it's so cool.
Yeah. And he calls out to whatever this entity is and doesn't respond to him. So then he yells out in the high speech.
Yeah, "Who are you, demon? Speak if you would speak. My time is short. My patience shorter."
Oh, God, what a badass.
I don't know if he sounds that commanding and in charge in the low speech as he does in the high speech. Anytime he talks in the high speech, he sounds so fucking cool.
Right.
Maybe that's just the way the speech. I don't know. Maybe you can't sound like an idiot in the high speech.
I need to learn this stat.
Oh man, could you imagine not sounding like an idiot?
But then a voice speaks out to him, and it is using Allie's voice.
Yeah, that was weird.
And I was like, huh, that does the demon know about Allie, or is it like some kind of magic where you take what the person's guilty about and use that to mess with them.
Or is Allie like cursed now with her knowledge of the afterlife, that she is like now in that demon adjacent vicinity, you know?
Yeah, okay.
That her soul is now doomed to be the tool or the puppet of demons, you know?
God, I hope not. That's messed up.
Yeah, poor Allie. She got the short end of the stick.
But the voice warns him, like, go slow past the drawers. Watch out for the tahine. It says, while you travel with that boy, the man in black travels with your soul in his pocket.
Damn.
And I was like, I don't know what the fuck that means, but yep, that's confirming that it's a trap.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, Jake is Roland's damnation or salvation, I believe. That he is. If there's some kind of a trick, it's going to rely on how he treats this kid. And he asks for more, but the demon doesn't give him anything. That's what we say this is probably a demon, right?
The book calls it a demon.
Okay.
And so then Roland starts like punching the sandstone where the
Minecraft?
crack is.
Like
yeah, like Minecraft.
What's he doing? Yeah.
And a hole forms, and he reaches in and pulls out a jawbone. With like, and it describes the teeth as like sticking out at weird different angles.
Yeah, I don't think it's human jawbone, is it?
It doesn't specify. That's one thing
Okay.
I was wondering about.
Okay.
Because with all the biblical references, like the first thing my mind went to was like the donkey jawbone, like
Cain killed, right?
I was thinking about like Samson, where he like
Was Samson?
used it as like a club to kill like 200 people or something,
Jesus.
something crazy like that.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but it doesn't ever specify, so that made me think it was probably a human.
Yeah.
But no, we don't really know.
I was picturing it being kind of big, like maybe the size of like a horse jawbone.
Yeah.
But I also only picture like one side, where it's like broken in half.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. I wasn't picturing a full U of a jawbone. So, and nothing here tells us that. But
Yeah.
he gets back up and he like is not telling Jake anything, keeping him in the dark, which is probably for the best, right?
Yeah, and Jake is so happy like that he's back up. He was terrified. And this is when Roland begins to realize that he loves this kid.
Yeah, he did say that they felt love right then and there, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
So he is human.
yeah. A little
You
bit
know?
at least.
There's a lot that's happened in the last 30 pages or so that's like showing this guy not to just be a murdering monster, that he can be detract from his purpose, you know.
Yeah. And then, so they start to pack up their water bags, and they're gonna leave town, and Jake, says like, "Oh, do we have to go back there?" And Roland's like, "No, we're done with this place forever."
Mm-hmm.
And Jake is just so happy at that.
Oh yeah, he's like, never coming back. I'm good. This place sucks.
Yep. He's like,
We're outta
F
here."
this place.
Yeah.
And but as they leave, they both agree that it feels like somebody's watching them.
Which is weird.
They don't think that anybody's in the town, but they feel like somebody is watching them.
Yeah. And did you picture this as like a gas station? That's how I did. I know it's not. That's not what it is.
No,
But I pictured it as a gas station.
They said that it was two buildings, but I
Yeah.
only ever like pictured the one, like the barn.
Yeah.
I never really pictured the way station because they don't actually, despite the chapter being named after it, they don't ever really go
Say
there.
anything about it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So I just kind of imagined a barn on the middle of the desert.
That makes sense. I like that Jake gets to carry his own water, and that even the gunslinger's like, "You sure? You sure that's not enough?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got it." And then he is impressed with how well he carries the water as they're traveling. So it's cool. Yet again, the man that doesn't care about nostalgia or his past starts to talk about his past in nostalgic ways. But talking about Merlin. I found that. Do you have anything for that?
Oh no, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
Like he's not even just thinking about it. He's telling Jake at their next like campfire.
Yeah, that he wants to really discuss. I mean, why did he bring him up? I mean, he obviously did. Like,
So he starts to talk about how he grew up in a walled city.
Yeah.
And there was this evil wizard named Martin,
mm-hmm.
Who maybe the Man in Black, maybe his brother.
Yeah, he never saw them together, but if they weren't the same man, they had to have been brothers. I think is what he says. Something like that, right?
And then he mentions something about Merlin, and Jake's like, "Oh yeah, like from the stories of King Arthur."
Yeah, Knights in the Round Table. The gunslinger felt a nasty jolt go through him. Yes, he said, Arthur Eld, you say true. I say thank you.
And the way that he reacted made me think, like, is the Legend of King Arthur something more here?
Yeah, is this like where that is true? Are we like a cowboy knight Fallout sorcerer? you know? You know?
Yeah, I like it.
It's genre mixing, but it didn't stop it too.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they go sleep and keep on going. What would fall?
So now is when he flashes back to his childhood.
Oh, yep.
So he's with this his friend Cuthbert that we were talking about, and David is a falcon that they have.
A small engine of destruction with bright golden eyes. I like that description.
Oh, that is really cool. And I think at some points, like the narration messes up and calls it a hawk, and it kind of like uses hawk and falcon
really?
interchangeably.
Yo, it does. Is it a hawk or a falcon?
I think it's got to be a falcon because, like, you know, that people are falconers, and
Yeah.
that's what makes more sense to me. And the person on that tour website that I was telling you about also pointed out that in the first chapter they got mule and donkey interchangeably when they were talking about the.
They did.
Yeah.
And this book has been through a rewrite.
Yeah.
In like the late 2000s. And they didn't catch that still? Wow. Okay.
And they're being trained by this guy named Court to use David as the falcon.
Yeah. I like you were slow, maggot.
Yeah.
Court's great. He's an interesting character.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Court releases I think it said a dove for David to go catch, and Bert releases David way too slowly.
I think that he didn't take the hood off as he threw him at the right time.
Yeah.
It was like he threw him and then like David was like, what the fuck? And then took the hood off so he could fly.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a perfect launch.
And so Court beats him.
Yeah, knocks shit out of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blood running from his ear. I like that Cuthbert, the first thing he says is that I grieve. I have forgotten the face of my father, whose gun I hope someday to bear. I've forgotten the face of my father is a wild way of being sent like, I fucked up. It's really cool to me.
Yeah. And so Court tells him, you know, for screwing this up, you don't get dinner or breakfast. And Roland chases after David to put the hood on him, but he does it wrong, and so he gets all scratched and sliced up by David. And Court comes over and lectures Roland about the sloppy job. And while his back is turned, we see Bert like stick his tongue out, like just like, nah. And but Court has super CSI zoom and enhance vision and sees that in the reflection of Roland's eyes.
Reflection of his eyes.
So he just turns around and just bap right in the face.
Got him again.
Yep. And so Court leaves them, and Roland's like, man, fuck this guy. I got a hookup in the kitchen.
I felt that, I don't think it's been mentioned yet, but like maybe Roland has a higher birth than Cuthbert. Like maybe he was like in direct lineage.
Yeah.
And Cuthbert was like the friend of the prince. That's just the
Okay.
kind of vibe that I got here. That like he knew the cook and he had the hookups. And
Yeah.
then the first person they run to later is Roland's dad, and that maybe that's just me adding in layers that aren't there.
Well, one thing that I definitely picked up on was, or at least thought of, is that the boys are probably both, maybe not now, but later in life, are going to be higher stationed than Court.
Yeah.
And like, you kind of get some resentment from Court because he, like, you can tell that he wants to train these boys to be the best they can be, but also he kind of hates them.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it's like a drill sergeant that never really, like, I don't know what you'd call that. Like being in the army where it's like being a teacher and then never going out to make money. You know, like a teacher
like,
could be resentful of, especially if you're doing like computer like or something. Okay, a music teacher, right? You're good enough to teach, but you're not the best guitar player out there, you know? So like you might be resentful of kids that are more talented than you that obviously have a shot at being in a professional orchestra or whatever it may be, you know?
I liked your when you mentioned the drill sergeant, because that kind of, like, maybe you're a drill sergeant who knows, like, oh, this is the general's kid, and he's going to be a general one day when he grows up. But right now, this sucker's mine.
Yeah, I like that too. I didn't even really think about it like that. That there was a vindictive like way to just get at. I felt like Court was being fair because he does it to everybody. He's an asshole. To everybody. Just now, maybe he was. I don't know if there's so much that. And I'm not like trying to speak on because we don't get much more Court like throughout the series. So
yeah,
he's interesting. Most of it's in this book. So this is one of those things that we could both be right or we could both be wrong.
Yeah, maybe. That's just kind of the vibe I got.
Yeah, for sure. I found it interesting that in this flashback, it's mentioned that the world had moved on, past tense.
Yeah.
Roland was born into a world that had moved on, that things had already started being shit.
Yeah.
I found that interesting because there seemed to be a lot more structure here. Nothing really tells me that just yet, but that there's a cook. I don't know.
Well, yeah, when we get to Hax, the cook, it mentions that, like, his oven is one of 6 appliances that still work.
It's an electric stove.
Yeah, and it's like most of the other appliances that are in the castle aren't working anymore.
Yeah, that had to be a atomic slug, right?
Right.
Or maybe they had some kind of electricity. I do get the vibe that they're not in like a small cowboy town.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He called it earlier like a big walled city.
I did say the walled city. I'm picturing like, what's the first fucking town you go to in Skyrim? Windhelm or something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I picture. Every time that for some reason, that's what I picture. The stone bridges, big old fucking monument in the front. Like, okay.
Yeah. That makes sense. But yeah, so then Roland and Bert go to get some food, and they talk to Hax who's the cook, and Roland knows him, and he's like, "Yeah, just here's some food for you guys. Don't get me in trouble."
Yeah.
He says, "Don't get me in trouble," which is really funny coming up here in a few pages.
You're about to be in more trouble than you ever knew, Hax.
So they go off into like some dark corner to eat. They like kind of hide so that nobody sees them, and they overhear Hax talking to somebody, they don't know who, and they hear about like, oh, the good man Farson and some poisoned meat.
Yeah, they were. Okay, before we get into the poisoned meat, I wanted to go over another connection to our world of this guy and Hax talking. Ask not what the good man could do for you, but what you can do for him.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I forgot about that, but absolutely.
What a weird thing to try. That can't just be King fucking up, right? And putting that has to be intentional,
right?
You know?
I hope so. I hope so.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm very annoyed at Mr. Steven here.
Okay. Yeah. That I put what the fuck. What the fuck quote is this? In this world, you know, like how?
Oh, man. But yeah, so they overhear this conspiracy, and Roland feels something die inside of him as he's hearing it.
It's his childhood, right?
Yeah.
Like
I
that's
took
what
it as like his
is.
innocence.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, like I believe they're trying to poison. They're Taunton. I don't know if that's where they're at. I believe that the town they live in is called Gilead.
Yeah, or no, New Canaan, right?
New Canaan. Gilead might be like the state.
Yeah, because it was the high language of Gilead.
Yeah.
And then later he says that they live in New Canaan, I think.
Yeah, and Taunton must be close, but they're going to kill children with poisoned meat. It's such a strange way to care for children. Hax uttered a heavy whistling sigh. Will they curdle and hold their bellies and cry for their mamas? I suppose they will. It will be like going to sleep, the guard said, but his voice was too confidently reasonable. So it's not even going to be a good poison. They're going to poop themselves to death. That's what's going to happen. And don't they talk about... Oh, man, they're like, wouldn't you rather see them dead than, like, raised to live by the gun? I thought I saw that in here somewhere. Oh, no, that might be as he says when he's dying. When he gets home. I think it is. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. And so we cut to Roland's father coming home, and that's immediately who Roland goes to tell about the conspiracy.
Right before that little subchapter ends with Cuthbert's eyes were Gunslinger's eyes. I like that. One last little sentence. So, like, how mad he was. It was like, because Cuthbert and Roland were both mad about this.
Oh, they were furious.
Have they explained what Ka is yet in this book?
No.
Okay.
No, they mentioned it a lot.
A shit ton. And tete-a-tete, which is actually, I guess, a word that I've heard in real life, not just here. It means, like, to talk.
Yeah. And
Ka, it gets later on. So
yeah. The only association I have with the word Ka is Yu-Gi-Oh! So I don't know. It's the ancient magic energy that the Pharaoh used to summon monsters to real life. Back in ancient Egypt.
I'm not going to confirm nor deny that. About how this is. Yeah, so Stephen Deshane. We got a last name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roland Deshane. Solid name, though. Isn't kind of corny that King names the dad of his MC, Stephen.
Right, that's what I was thinking too.
It's spelled different.
Yeah.
But it's still Stephen. Like, come on, dude. You got to be a little bit more subtle than that.
Depends on how important he is. Well, that's yet to be determined.
Sure.
But he immediately tells him about the conspiracy. He's like, so why are you exposing this guy? And Roland is like, well, it's because it's treason. It's awful. Mm-hmm. And Stephen's like, no, that's not why you're doing it. I don't believe you.
Yeah, like, I'd rather see you dead by the poison meat than to, like, turn someone in just because of, like, some school book fantasy of what treason means to you.
But also, like, they're planning to kill some kids. Like, I'd absolutely turn them in for that.
I think that this is, like, for lack of a better term, like the brainwashing that goes into somebody that has to fight for a cause or a flag.
Yeah.
That, like, you need to respect what you're representing enough to kill someone because of what they would plan to do to it and not to you or anything that you care about in, like, a emotional or human sense. It's more of in a soldier. You're fighting for a flag.
Yeah.
And in the grand scheme of things. And I felt that as they say that Deshane is a gunslinger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he has been proven, and he has. Yeah, okay.
And so Roland admits that he wants to see them dead because hearing that killed something inside of him. Mm-hmm. And Stephen accepts that as an answer.
Yeah. They hurt me, he finished defiant. They changed something and it hurt. I wanted to kill all of them for it. I wanted to kill them right there. Just a great way of writing how kids talk.
Yeah.
Put that out there.
And so Stephen's like, okay, well, you can see the hanging then.
Bet. Yeah. Here you go.
And years later, Susan, we get a thing that was like, years later, Susan tells Roland about Oedipus. And
Oedipus is in this world too?
Right?
What? What world is this?
And
you get Hey Jude, Oedipus, and stoves,
and atomic slugs.
Yeah, like,
but no TV.
What the fuck? Before that, okay. He put his fist on his forehead, crossed one foot in front of the other, and bowed. What the fuck is that salute? That is through the whole series.
It's so dorky.
This is what I'm always like. I don't get it. It drives me nuts. Every time they do it, every time it's mentioned, I don't get it. There's no representations online of, like, illustrations. Nobody had ever asked King about it.
Huh.
I've researched it.
I wonder if it's in the comic at all.
I would love to read the comic. I actually want to do that soon. So.
Hell yeah. But yeah, so Susan tells Roland about Oedipus. And,
Gallows Hill was on the Taunton Road, so he must have lived in Taunton. Gallows Hill was on the Taunton Road, so they must have been poisoning the city where Hax was.
Oh,
I thought it was a faraway city.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wonders about the love triangle between his parents and Farson/Martin because they're the same guy.
Which is just a wild thing to think that he.
But then he's like, well, what if it's a quadrangle because of me?
So weird.
Which earlier when he's thinking about his mom telling him the poem,
Yeah.
he thinks about her red lips.
Weird.
Yeah.
Why?
Mommy issues.
Yeah, the Oedipus complex, which I don't want to vouch for or vouch against, it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, a quadrangle. Yeah. Well, Farson, who the good man, is also Martin, who might be the Man in Black.
Who they did confirm that he was an evil wizard.
That Martin was, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
he is a wizard and bad, and that Farson is him, but he's also. I had the feeling that Martin was like in this town with him. That he was like, maybe not though.
Yeah.
I really don't know. That's just how like I felt like he was like a court jester wizard or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the whole Windhelm thing in Skyrim. Like he's off on the side doing potions. You know? Like that's just where I for some reason he should be in close proximity. He might not be though. So they go into up to the Gallows Hill.
And before they left, Court gave them some bread.
Yep.
And didn't really tell them why, but they'd figure it out.
That the birds just eat the whole body?
I've heard of other like people in history doing that.
Really?
Like they'll leave their dead out in like open air so that animals can eat it.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
But they get there super early.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is there yet, and so Roland wants to like check out the gallows. He's curious, but Bert is really freaked out and scared by it. So he like kind of dissuades Roland from going up there. But Roland's like, "Well, I'm just gonna like nab a little splinter and put it in my pocket just so I have that."
Weird.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, kid, you need therapy."
Yeah, this is a guy that's gonna grow up to kill the whole town, so I get it. You know?
Yeah.
He's been broken for a while now. Yeah, Cuthbert is all jacked up, but Roland seems to be kind of ready. But then, hampers of cold pancakes folded over with fillings of wild. Roland felt his stomach growl. Cold pancakes? You ever had they're terrible?
That sounds awful.
Leftover pancakes are the worst thing in the world. Like,
It does not sound appealing whatsoever.
desperate times, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah. And people start to show up. They're bringing food and blankets, like they're here to like watch an event, have a picnic, and this just makes Roland even angrier. He's like, Hacks had more honor and nobility than these people.
Yeah. And now they're gonna watch him die as
right,
like, amusement, maybe.
Yeah, which was really interesting. That he's the one who's responsible for this guy getting killed, and he wanted to see him killed.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's a better man than any of you.
Which is strange, right?
Yeah.
Take a little break. Is that chair kicking your ass?
No, that's good.
Okay, like sometimes the like extra cushion fucks with me and like makes my ass hurt. I was like, I want to like say if you want to stand up or anything for a little bit because we are not moving very fast tonight.
No.
All right, so we're back at it.
So we see like a gunslinger bring Hacks to the gallows. He loops the noose around his neck and springs the trap door. But as it happens, Hacks is like talking.
Yeah.
He gets cut off in the middle of the sentence.
Yeah, I found a couple things interesting in there. Just some world building that the gunslinger, whom the boy did not know well, he was glad his father had not drawn the Blackstone. That there was a group of guys that just drew the short straw to go do this hanging.
Yeah.
I found that kind of interesting. That is that like a democracy? Is that I don't know? It seems fair and even, not like a oligarchy or like you're being told to do like, oh, this is your job. You are the guy that hangs people, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Oligarchy, the right word? I'm all over the place tonight.
I don't know. I really liked that though. It did seem fair, and it kind of put out the like, nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to hang somebody.
Yeah, and the gunslinger asks him, "Do you wish to make confession?" And Hacks begins on his little ramble. "I have nothing to confess." His words carried well, and his voice was oddly dignified in spite of the muffle of the cloth which hung over his lips. I have not forgotten my father's face. It has been with me through all. And then continues. Roland starts to think the crowd has a sense of sympathy, and he thinks perhaps admiration. He would ask his father, when traitors are called heroes, or heroes traitors, he supposed in his frowning way, dark times must have fallen. Where outside of real world, where we have to really look at every individual not as black and white, and that good guys can be not traditionally good guys, and bad guys can hold roles of leadership.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think just in the story way that if a good guy, like Roland's Gunslingers, as we would say that they are, in his mind at least, that they are the good guys, they are the law and order, whatever it may be, can be convinced by a man that's doomed to be hung. He convinced the public that maybe the guy being hung is being hung like in bad faith, you know?
Yeah.
That is just, I don't know. It's just one of those things that it hit me today. Like, okay, well, yeah, of course you're gonna think about everything and look around all angles of a situation. But for when this book was written and the world that it takes place in, that we should think of things not as so binary, good, bad, black, white, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Not much to go on with that, but it was just an interesting concept to me that seemed to perplex Roland. So that kind of tells us like who he is too. That he might be a believer of there is only one thing. There's only good.
Yeah.
You're against me, you're bad.
Yeah.
Where he could actually end up being an ambiguous character. Where what do they call that in D&D? Like lawful evil or lawful good. Where like you might do the wrong things, but to your character it makes sense.
Yeah, like you're following a code, so you're lawful.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you're doing good things.
Yeah.
So you can be
The
lawful
law
neutral or lawful evil.
Law does not mean morality.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially in D&D, like because we should really call it order in order and chaos instead of law and chaos.
Yeah.
Because that kind of makes more sense. But yeah, he's very structured and by the book.
It does make
even
sense,
if it's not the morally right book.
Okay. Yeah. So I believe that we were building a Roland. He's lawful good in his mind, maybe up to lawful evil.
Yeah.
That was it. Okay.
And then after the hanging, they lay him out on a slab back behind the gallows.
They did take him down, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't ever picture that, and I've read that so many times. I always pictured the bread being underneath his feet as he was hanging still.
Oh.
Which I feel like is kind of a better scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
For these birds to come down and pick it off of a rope was kind of nasty. And
that would be really nasty out.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
But they realize that's what the bread's for, so they like break it and put it under his feet so it'll attract the birds. And then as the section's ending, we get like the narrator tells us, in 5 years the land will have fallen to the good man Farson. Roland will have become a gunslinger. His father Stephen will be dead. Roland will have killed.
Stephen was dead. Oh, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just not how it's directly quoted in my book. I was wondering.
Oh yeah,
You might have paraphrased.
Roland will have killed his mother, and the world will have moved on. There's another phrasing of the world will move on.
And matricide. Didn't know what that was for a long time until I looked it up the last time I went with this. Oh, that means he's gonna kill his mom. Oh.
Yeah.
Didn't know that was like a term. But yeah. So we go back to not the real world, but Roland's world, present time, right?
Present time, yep.
And they see some mountains at the end of the desert.
Yeah, they're getting close to the mountains now, and
You picturing like a Breaking Bad desert, whenever you, or like a
kind of yeah, like a.
It's not like a Sahara, very sandy. It's like hard.
Yeah.
Hard. I call it hard pan. I don't know.
I don't know the actual.
Yeah, me
but like hard packed dirt.
Yeah.
That's definitely the kind I was imagining. Have you ever read the Stormlight Archive?
Mm-mm.
So it's this like fantasy series that takes place on like a totally alien world from ours.
Okay.
But one of the main settings is this place called the Shattered Plains, and it's basically that kind of desert where
Okay.
it's just like hard, almost rock-like ground that is shattered.
Yeah.
Like and there's big gaps between them, but it's like just this hard dirt, but almost stone.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I was imagining.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's about where I'm at too. I didn't ever picture a Aladdin desert.
Yeah,
you
definitely
know?
not.
Not that kind of sand.
Yeah.
Which he might have. I feel like there'd be more like this. I hate sand. It's gritty and it gets everywhere.
It's irritating. And
That's the quote. It gets irritating. I don't think it's Star Wars sand.
Yeah.
But you sent me a text about the end of this chapter.
Yeah. So as they're getting close to the mountain, they look up the mountain and they can see like a black speck moving. And they're like, oh, that's him. But Roland starts to feel some sorrow as he sets up the campfire because he thinks of Jake as the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's not a good sign.
No, Jake, you might have hitched your horse to the wrong wagon here, boss.
Right. Yeah.
Wagon to the wrong horse, whatever it may be. And yeah, that doesn't bode well for Jake.
Absolutely not.
He might not make it through this. That concludes the God, was that just the way station?
That was
there
just
was
the
a
way
lot
station.
there.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like that much when I was reading. So
Yeah.
you want to try to knock out the Oracle in the Mountains? It's not a long bit.
No, this one's pretty short.
Okay.
Like it was like 30 pages on my ebook.
Yeah, not bad at all. So the boy found the Oracle and it almost destroyed him. Starting off hot.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the whole thing is the journey. It's like we're not gonna have days of them walking and just filling pages. It's gonna jump right into whatever the fuck this Oracle is, right?
Yeah, and this is structured really interesting because Roland wakes up, sees Jake's gone, knows that he's gone to the Oracle, and then flashback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just right then. Just flash it all the way back. Don't matter, right?
So then they're finally getting to the greenery on the mountain. There's wildlife. Roland shoots some rabbits for food. And as they're going to sleep, he sees a praying mantis on Jake's head, and he laughs for the first time that he can remember in ages ever laughing.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah, he doesn't remember laughing. That's a pretty tough one. I did want to mention, I don't know if we'd passed it yet, but that they're talking about in this flashback, right, where the boy had pushed every step he could push, and there might have been sucker bats in the deep shadows of the grove. The bats might break the boy's sleep, no matter how deep it was. And if there were vampires, neither of them might awaken, at least not in this world.
Yeah, I was like, oh, man.
We got vampires in this
We
world?
got vampires now.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. If it was any other author, I might chalk it up as oh, he's being kind of melodramatic. Or
No, there's vampires in this book.
No, it's Stephen King. There's vampires.
Yeah.
If he says there's some sort of creature, there's that creature.
His vampires aren't Twilight vampires. They're mean and nasty.
They're not sparkly X-Men?
No, not at all. They don't live in Seattle, They're nasty. So we're still in this flashback, right? Because the boy's gone, or Jake is gone.
Yeah. So Roland, or they go to sleep. Roland dreams of Susan's death. He sees people have her locked up in this rusty iron collar. Mm-hmm. Then he realizes, oh, this is a dream, and that's not how you died.
That's not the way it happened. He hadn't even been there, but dreams had their own way of logic, didn't they?
And
again, all fucking
all
italics.
Yep. Man,
I think dreams are italics.
Yeah.
In his writing.
And Susan warns him that Jake is in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And he in the dream turns and sees Jake having a giant spike driven through his head.
Is there is that imagery in somewhere else that I'm not remembering? The only thing I can think of is a spike being driven through someone's head is Ghastly in the original Pokemon Curse. He drove a spike through his own
Yeah.
head. For some reason, it just felt so okay, is this imagery from some culture that I should recognize that King's pulling from?
Not that I recognize. There's not to bring it back to Brandon Sanderson again, but in his Mistborn series,
Mm-hmm.
there's these guys called the Inquisitors,
Mm-hmm.
who have railroad spikes driven through their eyes. But I don't think that's what King was going for here. Now I think the way I took it was through the middle of his forehead.
Yeah, for sure. The sound Jake's making. What the fuck?
Right. I wasn't sure what that was supposed to be.
It's all ends. It just straight ends. I don't know how to. I guess, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
But Roland wakes up because he rolled too close to the fire and burned himself a little bit.
Which is wild that this killing machine could just roll into fire. Maybe that's why he was dreaming about fire. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But now we snap back to the opening of the chapter where he realizes Jake is gone.
Yeah.
And so he runs out into the forest after him, and he comes to a clearing where there's this ring of black stones and a stone table.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake is in the middle of it, paralyzed in a weird position.
Yeah, I didn't know exactly how to view that. I feel like he kind of lost me with the imagery there. Is Jake standing, sitting, laying?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure either.
Yeah. Where I felt like if he's standing and struck and then under some kind of trance, that's scary as shit. But if the words don't tell me something, I'm very hard. Whenever I'm imagining something in a story, it's like a white room with the very few details you tell me.
Right.
I have no idea what Roland looks like. He doesn't have a face to me.
I just see him as Idris Elba because of the movie.
I can see that. So yeah, so far where I've pictured him, long before that.
Yeah.
Well, Jake is just a kid with blonde hair. That's all that King really gives us, that he was a blonde kid. So yeah, if you don't give me the information, I don't take the liberty to be wrong.
Right. I don't know. A lot of times I'll picture stuff in my head, but it'll look weirdly cartoony for some reason, but everybody will be a different art style. I don't know why, but that happens a lot when I'm imagining
awesome.
books. I'll be okay, you look like this, you look like this, you don't look like something that would exist next to each other, but that's what you look like for some reason in my head.
That's interesting that you can imagine. I imagine in real world, quote unquote graphics.
Sometimes
yeah,
I do.
And sometimes they're anime or paper mache.
Yeah. Sometimes you got Popeye standing next to the rock. I don't know what to tell you.
That's awesome. They did bring up okay, right here. He held the jawbone frozen's prehistoric grin up before his eyes, holding his other arm out stiffly, first and last finger poked out in the ancient forked sign, the ward against the evil eye. Or this.
Spider-Man.
Or
Spider-Man.
Fucking rock on.
Yeah, or that.
I was thinking thumb and pinky.
That makes sense.
Your thumb is a finger, right? You got 5 fingers and you got 10 fingers and 10 toes, right?
That's a debate, weirdly enough. I always think of it as a finger.
Okay.
But
I have. How many fingers do you have? You have 8?
I have
10 fingers.
Yeah.
That's what I'd
say.
Right. Okay.
Some people like to argue that fact. They're no, you got 8 fingers and 2 thumbs.
Sides. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. That would be the evil eye. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's another thing that I haven't ever had a chance to discuss with a living soul. What the fuck do you imagine? Yeah.
And then he wards off the spirit with the jawbone, frees Jake and brings him back to camp.
Yeah.
And he realizes again that he loves this kid,
Yeah.
which is just another big death flag for me. This kid is
It's not good. It's
Yeah.
Okay, you're not feeling that because the gunslinger has love for this kid that he's going to turn against his mission to get the man in black. It's it's just gonna
absolutely not.
cost more.
Yeah, his mission to get the man in black is more important than anything else to him.
Okay, I do have a paragraph highlighted that I did the whole thing, so I'm gonna at least read it. So
Absolutely.
The gunslinger paused for a moment above the gray ruin of the fire. The moonlight on Jake's face reminded him again of a church saint, alabaster purity, all unknown. He hugged the kid and put a dry kiss on his cheek, knowing that he loved him. Well, maybe that wasn't quite right. Maybe the truth was that he'd loved the kid from the first moment he'd seen him, as he had Susan Delgado, and was only now allowing himself to recognize that fact, for it was a fact. As we're talking about, he loves the kid.
Absolutely. And
is that a chink in the armor to you, or is that redeeming him as a character?
The way I have kind of thought about it is, it's a chink in his armor, definitely, in that he's going to be used against him.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of redeeming, but also it's kind of scaring me that it's going to hard come down the opposite of redeeming, depending on what Roland does.
Yeah.
And like the further we get, the more scared I am.
Love that. You should be scared getting to the end of a King book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd have to say that it's both. It's a redeeming. It's a transitioning of what I think the character is. You know, like I came out of Toll thinking this dude was a badass. Like that's all I'm gonna get is just guns and blood, guts and smoke and fire. It's like okay, now there's a little more nuance in here. You met a kid and he's showing some kind of. You introduce the badass, then show his human side. It's an interesting way to tell a story to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of outplayed now in like traditional action movies with like the Fast Saga. Like Vin Diesel is now like not a badass
Family.
anymore. Your family. You drive my life a quarter mile at a time. That movie fucking sucks. You got anything else from that little section? I think we have a flashback, don't we?
No. Next is we wake up and Jake is like tied up.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "You didn't have to tie me up." And Roland's like, "I did. You sleptwalked."
Yeah, I wasn't gonna run away. You did.
Yeah.
You were gone.
And he's like, "Oh, did I?
Yeah.
My bad."
And he does relay him to his friend Elaine. Elaine had been quiet in no other way, prone to Bert's grandstanding quackery, and he'd been dependable and afraid of nothing. And that's how he sees Jake.
Yeah.
It's like his friend Elaine, which is... I don't know if we meet Elaine in a flashback in this book, but he's a fun character too. So
Cool.
Yeah.
And so he leaves the jawbone with Jake, tells him to stay at camp, and he's like, "I'm going to go out in the forest."
We rolled right past something that I wanted to... It's foreshadowing that I don't know if you picked up on.
Okay.
The gunslinger opened his tobacco pipe and pawed through it, pushing the dry strands of leaf aside until he came across a minuscule object wrapped in a fragment of white paper. He rolled it between fingers that would all too soon be gone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, I read that. I was like, oh my god, he foreshadows that? Like, that was in book 1? Like, what?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Guess that bullet blew up in his hand.
Something's going to happen to his hands, which is, it's what? I did not, I had to bring it up, though, because it was so interesting. This might be part of that rewrite thing.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's not. It's like, oh my god, like, what a great storyteller. He knew. But yeah, interesting to bring in here and then to not... He doesn't lose his hand fighting this succubus.
Yeah.
You know?
But he says that the pill is mescaline?
Mescaline, which I don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
I'm not big on my street drugs.
Jake asks if it's like LSD.
Yeah. A very funny thing. I just now realized that one of the main characters in this book has the same name as you. I literally just thought you were referring to yourself as the third person. Like, oh, Cody. Like, I'd never made the connection. My friend upstairs, Joseph King, didn't make the connection. They shared the same name as Stephen King for like 3 years. Like him living here with me and me talking to him about different books and shit this whole fucking time. Never made that connection. I'm an idiot. All right. Had to get that off my chest. So Jake asked if it's mescaline. Or it's LSD. And I think it's...
Roland again doesn't know what that is.
No, he doesn't either. But it wakes you all the way up, which... Like, redacted things happened. And I wouldn't say that mescaline is like LSD, the way he refers to it here. But.
Yeah. I think that this is Jake being a kid, and this is the one drug he's heard of.
Yeah. Especially in like... Oh, they don't even give us a year, do they?
No, I figured
it was the 70s because that's when the book was written.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was like modern day at the time.
Lots of cigarettes, big TV stuff, about the Mad Men's time period. So, yeah, I don't like it. I like that he says it'll make you feel kind of pukey. I think he says somewhere. Oh my God, where does he say that? Doesn't the gunslinger say like, oh, it'll make you feel pukey, but if you don't think about it? It would sound like something that like the gunslinger should not be saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember exactly when that was.
Yeah, he says something like that. Like Jake's like, I don't like holding the bone. He's like, yeah, it might make you feel pukey.
Yeah. And yeah, he goes. I can't find it either. But oh well.
That'll be all right. So he takes some mescaline and starts to trip balls.
Oh, absolutely. He stays at the camp until he fills it, and then once he starts to fill it, he's like, all right, later.
And I don't necessarily get why he took it.
Yeah.
Where in this upcoming battle he's going to have, it doesn't seem purposeful.
It seems like a little counterintuitive.
It doesn't seem like a well-written scene.
Yeah.
It seems like something that like a highly touted author would have removed or rewritten entirely.
Yeah.
So this was always weird. Anytime the king like dives into sex, he's just weird.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing, right? Like, they're having sex. He's having sex
Absolutely.
with a demon. Okay.
He holds off for a while until she like tells him the information.
Yes. Before we get there, I want
Yeah.
to get to one thing. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I love his teeth felt strange in his head. Tiny tombstone set in pink, moist earth.
Ugh.
A wild string of words. I love that shit. So yeah, we get to there. He's gonna interact with this succubus, right? And whatever it may be, wants him just to have sex with her, but like he's like, no, I need you to tell me the truth about this shit first. Tell his future, I believe is what they call it.
Yeah, he says he demands that she gives him prophecy and truth.
Yeah.
And he refuses to give in to her. So she lulls him into like kind of a half sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when she goes into prophecy. And I always love hate prophecies in fantasy books.
For sure.
Because sometimes they're really cheesy, but sometimes they're really fun to dig into.
I thought this was handled relatively well.
Yeah.
I want you to make a prediction about what each one of these means too.
Okay. So she says that 3 is the number of his fate. Another number will come later, but now the number is 3. And my first thought on that was like, was the other number 19? Because of earlier, but that could just be nothing. And she says there are 3 things that she's going to tell him. The first is young, dark-haired, and stands on the brink of robbery and murder, possessed by a demon called heroin.
A junkie, right?
Yeah.
Badass.
Yeah.
Badass way to say that.
She also, in this part, like warns him to watch for doorways and roses.
Which we've had no art about that or anything, right? Like doors and roses are a big part of this. I guess there's a key right there.
Yeah.
So it might be something. But I was wondering with the artwork if there's anything that hinted at that yet. So yeah, doors and roses are interesting.
The second thing comes on wheels. The third is death, but not for Roland.
Yeah.
And so, and in the third section, she tells him that the man in black is near, and Jake is Roland's gate to the man in black. And so my predictions are these like 3 things are going to somehow help him get to the Dark Tower.
Okay.
And the first one, like you said, is probably someone who's a junkie.
I feel like heroin is from our world.
Yeah.
That I feel like that was a.
She does say there are other worlds and other demons.
Yeah.
So I think that he's going to meet somebody who's from our world that is really strung out. The second comes on wheels. There wasn't a whole lot of detail there, but
It made me originally think about the car that just killed Jake.
yeah,
That's what I thought of when I originally read it. Was like, okay, like what comes on wheels and car? What car do we know about in this story? Just one that killed Jake. Okay,
And,
maybe the guy in the suit was important. I don't fucking know. You know.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Death, but not for you.
Again, that's just another death flag for Jake for me. That's another like, oh, Jake's gonna die. Jake's gonna eat it.
Yeah.
Especially because she says that Jake is his gates to the Man in Black.
Yeah. And he has like, is there any way that the boy can be spared? Right? And she says, cease, gunslinger. Strike your camp and turn back northwest. In the northwest, there is still a need for men who live by the bullet. I found very interesting.
Yeah, she basically tells him that Jake can be saved if he gives up and turns around and goes home.
And we don't know why Roland is pursuing the Man in Black or this Dark Tower yet. So, like, this is saying, like, there is a way out to be happy and probably just to have a surrogate son, you know, and a family. That he obviously loves the boy, that there is a path to redemption, but it is literally 180 from where he's been.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to me that you don't see, like... You watch Squid Game?
Not yet.
Okay, never mind then. You don't see in Western media very often that a way out. You know, usually things are like you're being driven to a point. You are being forced to do something. It's like this anti-hero. You know, the circumstances push the hero instead of the other way around. You know, where this is the hero pushing all of it. He is doing this by his own will. He is going forward. Where he might have a way out that I don't. There's no reason for me to disbelieve this oracle.
Yeah,
she might be lying. So, Martin is no more. The Man in Black has eaten his soul. Yeah. That was interesting to me.
You know, earlier they said that maybe they are related or maybe they're the same person. Mm-hmm. But now I'm kind of thinking like maybe they were two different people and now they're one person.
See, I thought of it more of like Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker.
Or that, yeah. I like that too.
This came out before it, so copyright claims maybe.
Oh,
you know?
Shit.
No, that's kind of what I thought, that it was maybe a person that was kind of human and then the bad part of him just kind of took over. And it was like, okay, I'm not that person anymore. Blah blah. I'm not Darth Vader.
And then
a sex scene. We can just skip right past that, right?
Yeah. So to pay for the vision, he gives in, yada yada. Mm-hmm. There's one interesting thing though about it. The ghost is invisible, or the spirit is invisible. But in this order, he sees the faces of Sylvia Pittston, then Susan, then Allie, and then he just says it like a dozen others that don't get named. But it's interesting that his first thought is Sylvia.
Very interesting. That still might have had an effect on him.
Yeah.
Or that maybe Sylvia wasn't 100% on the up and up with being a human.
Yeah.
That's what I thought of. That she might have some connection to kind of the same way that Allie is in the land of the dead now, in my mind. That she is now, her soul is down there.
Yeah.
You know, like being able to be fucked with or be utilized. So.
But eventually once he's done, he leaves disgusted with himself and heads back to camp. Jake is like huddled by the fire, clenching the jawbone, and Roland tells him to drop it, and he gets a little like animalistic as he does. Jake's worried about Roland, kind of being like, "Hey, are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm just coming down from the drug. That's all. That's all it is."
No, I just had sex with a fucking demon.
Like, oh.
You know.
He tells Jake to start the fire. He tells Jake to start the fire, but Jake was huddled by the fire.
Interesting, right? It's a continuity issue.
Okay.
Spark of dark, where's my sire?
Yeah, so he says this like little rhyme that Roland's like, "Oh, he got that from me," but I don't remember saying that.
Where I'm kind of thinking that is like such a ingrained habit of his that he just does it without.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too.
I think especially if you've been by yourself for that long, you don't really think about what you say.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. You ever been on a road trip and you start singing? Like you don't think about the fact that you're singing, you know?
Right. But the prophecy comes into play automatically because he kills 3 rabbits for them to eat. Ooh. And then he makes 3 ropes out of vines.
Oh, I didn't even think about the 3 right there.
Right?
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah. And so the next day they start climbing, and the climb is pretty easy. And they camp for the night. And as they're going to sleep, Roland like kind of teases Jake about how high up they are. He's like, "Oh, don't roll over in your sleep, or you might fall off the mountain." Jake's like, "Oh, my mother says that I sleep like a dead man," and they're both just kind of like, "Oh, oops."
They both. I think they both really know like Jake's going to his death. Like, is that what they both think? Like you're making this prediction that Jake is gonna die, and it's obviously being hinted at here. You know.
I just thought about. I didn't even think about it right here.
Oh, really?
I thought about how he's already dead.
Oh, they just. Oh, shit! I didn't even think about that.
Right?
That he is a dead man.
Yeah.
Wow. I really didn't think about it like that. You know. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's like double
Yeah.
weird.
So as they're kind of chill or slowing down for the night, Jake asks Roland, like, he's like, "Why am I here? Why am I forgetting everything?" And Roland just is like, "Well, the man in black drew you here. It has something to do with the tower. I don't know why, but it has something to do with the tower."
I guess that everything here has said that the man in black and Jake are connected somehow. So I guess he can make that assumption.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it was, I don't know, like earned. Like, you're here. Okay. I don't know. There's how the fuck is the man in black changing worlds?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there wasn't like that line of connection drawn yet. I felt like it was too much for the character to know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, the man in black is now using you to get to me because we are in this, constant struggle. I don't know why the fuck you're here. Maybe you're caught in the path, whatever it may be.
That makes sense.
But I don't have much notes here, so you're gonna have to lead a little bit of this discussion. I don't know how I didn't write anything down.
Oh,
I'm like 10 pages in a row without one note.
You just got caught up in it, man.
Yeah, I must have.
And so he kind of tells Jake a little bit more about where he came from. He came from this place called New Canaan. Jake asks if there's a war, and he said, "Oh, better than a war. There was a revolution."
Interesting.
And I was like, "Oh, I wonder if this is related to like the revolution that Hax was plotting, or if it's another revolution."
Yeah. You do feel that Roland wasn't a rebel,
right?
That he was a part of what was being rebelled against,
right? It's just, and which makes it even weirder that he said it's better than a war, since it doesn't feel like he would be on the side of the rebels.
And I feel like that kind of is telling to the next line. We won every battle and lost the war.
Yeah.
I think in a straight head-to-head flag versus flag, it's hard to win a war against someone like the Gunslingers. But if you're arguing like ideas and ways of life, you could convince people like Haxton started doing on the gallows.
That makes sense.
So,
and then he starts thinking about ways like he might save Jake, but it just kind of seems impossible. So he's like, "Well, no point in seeing the tragedy in it." I'm like, bro.
There might have been tragedy in this situation, but the Gunslinger did not see that. He only saw that predestination that had always been there. And finally, his more natural character reasserted itself, and he slept deeply with no dreams. He can really just shut that off.
Yeah.
That human side of him.
Yeah, and especially we'll see that later.
Yeah.
But now they're getting closer, and the climb is getting more difficult. They can smell the man in black now,
which is interesting to me.
Which is like a oily. They call it an oily sardonic odor. I had to look up sardonic, and it's like it's not a smell. That's a. It means kind of like mocking almost.
Maybe I could get that like being an attribute of the man in black though.
Yeah,
being sardonic is very much how I imagine his personality.
Absolutely, he's very, very jokey.
Yeah,
and so that definitely
smell
tracks.
being wow.
And I'm maybe it's like the smell was mocking them as they could smell it.
Yeah.
Like it felt mocking
for sure.
But at one point they find a like single footprint in the snow, and this freaks Jake out, but Roland kind of pushes him onward. They eventually camp again, and they start hearing the sounds of thunder on the other side of the mountain. But from what they can see, the sky is clear, which is...
How big is this fucking mountain?
Right?
Or maybe it's like because you're so close you can't see over the top kind of thing, a point of view.
Yeah.
Nothing's, it rained once for fucking Brown. Or whatever, They haven't talked much about weather besides that. I think it's kind of a miss by King. I think it could have, the sand could have been much more of a nuisance in the desert.
Yeah.
Windy, up against your face, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But
and so a week has passed since they found the footprint, and now they're getting close to the top of the mountain. And then as they're walking, Jake stops, and he realizes then that Roland's going to kill him.
I love this part.
He says, he killed me the first time, and you're going to kill me this time, and I think you know it.
Yeah, the gunslinger felt the lie on his lips, then spoke it. You'll be all right. And a greater lie yet, I'll take care. damn.
Yeah.
That's
And,
like the gut punch of, as a reader, yeah, it's like, oh my God, he might really not save Jake.
Yeah.
You know?
And so reluctantly, Jake comes with him. And shortly after that, they pass a bend in the river, and they see the Man in Black standing on top of like a big stone wall, basically.
Before that, you've played video games. Did that feel like a checkpoint before a boss fight to you?
Right. Yeah.
It did to me a lot. Where it's like right around the corner and it happens.
Yeah.
Like I was reading, I was like, oh my God, there's so much happening right here, and it's so much just like, okay, we have to keep going. You know, like stop and think about everything that's going on. You sure you want to keep going right now?
Right.
And then, and Man in Black. Oh shit.
And immediately, without even thinking, Roland pulls his guns and shoots 3 times.
3 times. And misses 3 times.
Which
he's not gonna miss, right?
right, like I was like, that's interesting given like his
he missed more times in those 3 shots than he did all of Toll.
Yeah, he
I
only
believe
missed once.
Twice.
Twice? Oh yeah.
I think there's like 2 where he missed one.
Yeah.
And also 2 if you count him hitting the crosses.
Yeah.
You count those as misses, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting because he it's not like he was doing them as like warning shots. He
aimed to kill.
Yeah, he aimed to kill. He wasn't thinking.
No. That was
It was instinct.
like a yeah. Yeah, wow.
And the man in black kind of mocks him. He makes fun of him for missing. And Roland's like, "Well, come down here and give me some answers."
We'll speak on the other side, I think, the Man in Black said. On the other side, we'll hold much counsel and long palaver. His eyes flicked to Jake, and he added, "Just the 2 of us." Such a crazy...
And then he just disappears into like a crack in the rock behind him.
Oh, what an asshole.
Yeah.
Yo, oh my God. As soon as you can, listen to some of these voice actors to get a sense of who the Man... If you listen to like the 5 minutes of the Man in Black is in this damn book, it'd be so worth it. I'd send him out just to, like, the way that they voice him puts so much more to his character. He's amazing.
I will go find that tonight.
For sure. So you know my Audible information. I got it.
Right on.
I'll send it to you.
And then there's a part that I found super interesting. Because as he's leaving through the crack in the rock, Roland thinks, like, it's been 12 years since his last glimpse of him. And that's really interesting because of how vague and unsure the series is of time. He's absolutely certain of a very specific time.
He's been chasing this man for 12 years across the desert?
Yeah.
Because as I believe it, the very first line, the Man in Black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. In my mind, he saw them. He saw him at some point and then started to pursue him. Or maybe not. I mean, it'd kind of be stupid. Like, how'd he get that much of a lead on him? But
right, that makes sense, yeah. But, yeah, so just, I was like, this is super specific. And nobody can remember how long anything's been, but he knows it's been 12 years.
12 years. Yeah. Wondering if that's like 2 pieces, yin and yang, meeting up and making things make sense.
Yeah.
That things now have structure of the Man in Black and Roland, the protagonist, Is the Man in Black an antagonist? In the sense of the word? He doesn't prevent anything.
He is in that he's like the protagonist's enemy, kind of.
Yeah, but he's not stopping it. Like, you heard the theory that, like, you've seen Avengers Endgame?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe spoiler alert. Thanos is the protagonist. He is making everything happen. The Avengers are the antagonists trying to stop it.
Okay.
If you don't look at it like that. And, yeah, I don't know if you can say that Man in Black is an antagonist. He's the bad guy, in my mind. But he might not be the antagonist.
That's interesting.
That's me being an English major and getting confused by words. So.
Yeah.
I'll have moments like that this whole time. I have it in regular life. So.
But after he leaves, Roland looks at Jake and he sees Allie's face over him.
Yeah.
And then in his mind, he kind of likens himself to Judas, another biblical reference. He says, "No one really ever pays for betrayal in silver. The price of any betrayal always comes due in flesh."
Where was that line at? Why did I not recognize? Oh, I see it right there. The price of any betrayal always comes due in flesh. Yeah. I must have been so absorbed in this book, I just stopped taking notes. It's like, oh my god! I know it's almost over.
I was reading through this like just crazy because it felt like this was leading up to like, oh, Jake's gonna die here.
Yeah.
I for sure thought that he wasn't making out of this chapter.
Yeah, and He does.
Surprisingly.
The darkness swallowed them.
Yeah.
They just go right in that cave.
And that's that.
Yeah, the next chapter will be the Slow Mutants. Which, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And, oh man, like, how likely is it that Jake doesn't make it out of this book to you? Like, do you think they've obviously been foreshadowing it this whole time, but do you think that is really how it's going to go, or is the Gunslinger going to have a redeemable?
I think that neither of those is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a little bit of meta knowledge just because I know that Jake was big enough to put in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel like Jake is going to be alive, but Roland's still going to do something awful.
Okay. I love that answer. I don't know if you're right or wrong.
Yeah.
I do know, but yeah, that's a great way to think about it because there is you're not going into this completely spoiler free, and you can't ignore that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I am excited to go home and immediately read these.
I can't wait. I don't know if I want to even I have to save it all for the show. I can't talk to you. If you're gonna get through all of this book, and it's gonna be, it's so nuts. Honestly, you get through the Slow Mutants part, let me know.
All right.
I think there's 2 chapters left. You get through the Slow. I just want to hear that reaction. I'll save it for this, and we can fucking reenact it. But it's a crazy chapter. So thank you all for stopping by. It's been Redacted Media. Again, I am Redacted or Larmer. This is Jake.
I'm Jake.
Not Jake Chambers. But
not Bama. Not John Chambers.
Not Bama. Not the boy. But this has been our breakdown. I guess is this a book club? Is that what we're gonna call it? Is it a book club?
Book club. Book recap.
It's a book club. It's a book. Yeah, it's a book club. It's a book club. We're doing a book club. You know, a book club on the Gunslinger, the first book of the Dark Tower series. I hope that we can continue through this series, and it should be fun. Again, we're kind of inspired by another YouTube channel here. If you guys are here instead of there, because maybe your algorithms went out better, you made it to here. Go subscribe to Dark Tower Palaver. They're great. They're so good. They dived into this, and they're so much more organized than us. They have 4-hour shows. If you're a podcast person, get on that.
Oh man,
they're great, and they do a book. They've been doing their book club for 6 years now, and they're in book 3.
They're on book 3.
They do once a month, and they do
they
do 10 pages. Let's break it down for that fucking long.
Wow, I've listened to some podcasts kind of like that before.
Yeah.
That's some dedication.
Man, and it's they don't worry. They might miss one, be okay, but then. They usually go every 2 weeks, but it's one's a news and notes and a bullshit, and then one's a book club episode. Okay, this is pointless. Go fucking follow them. Go watch go give them streams. Don't listen to me. They're great. Read more, do more, recycle, get your pet spayed and neutered, and hit like and subscribe.
Please.
I'll catch you next time.
Do it.
See ya.
Bye.